Can you imagine what it must be like to live in Israel today? Any Israeli citizen could be attacked at any moment, anywhere, by a knife-wielding Palestinian. That is terror, pure and simple. The Palestinians are being encouraged by their leaders. Social media gives directions on the most effective stabbing method. They're being told the Israelis want to change the status of Muslim religious sites. That is a lie, but it's being repeated daily. I ask again, can you imagine living with that? Can you imagine how we would feel if this were happening in America? We would surely define it as terror, wouldn't we? It's obvious. But in Israel, our leaders just talk about violence, as if both sides share equal blame. Secretary of State John Kerry, he's there right now, but he doesn't talk of terror, just calm down, he says. And the burning of Joseph's tomb, that is a religious outrage committed by a Palestinian mob egged on by Muslim religious authorities. And our leaders make no mention of it. Truth is, President Obama has abandoned Israel, and everybody knows it. The Iranians will get their nuke, Hezbollah will get its money, and the Palestinians, sensing our weakness, take their terror directly to Israeli citizens. So far, the Mideast fiasco has hardly been mentioned by Democrats in their election campaign. That's going to have to change. This failure to call terror what it is, this failure to identify just what is the force of evil, is not good enough. The president has made his retreat all too clear. Now it's time to find out what Hillary, Bernie or Joe would do about it. Let's get back to my take. Here's a headline from our next guest. The president has thrown Israel under the bus on the world stage. Anne Bayevsky is with us, director of the Turo Institute on Human Rights and the Holocaust. And welcome to the program.
Nice to be here.
I came out swinging. I say that the president has abandoned and deserted Israel, and that's a very, very bad thing. And you say what?
Well, he's done worse than that. The Samantha Power, the U.S. UN ambassador, delivered on Friday the worst speech of a U.S. ambassador that I have ever heard.
Wait a second. This is America's ambassador to the United Nations in New York.
That's right.
She made a speech, and you say that's the worst you've ever heard from anybody on this subject.
Any U.S. ambassador. There we had an emergency session of the Security Council, and she came out. Instead of standing up, Israelis are being butchered in the streets in buses, little boys riding bicycles, and instead of standing up and saying, stop the murder, stop the incitement, she said both sides are equally responsible.
Did she use that word, equally responsible?
She used the word
said that?
both sides. Constantly, both sides, cycle of violence. She blamed the President Abbas, for example, who has just specifically said that a 13-year-old boy was executed by Israelis, whipping up frenzy. And it turns out that the little boy is in an Israeli hospital being cared for by Israeli doctors after he stabbed repeatedly another 13-year-old Jewish boy who is barely hanging on.
What is the administration hoping to achieve by taking this line of opinion, which is that both sides share equal responsibility? What are they trying to do here? What are they trying to get out of this? Honest broker, not favouring one side or the other?
No, I don't think so. I think it's about time we stop talking about President Obama's being weak, leading from behind. He's leading in the wrong direction.
You think he's tilted away from Israel?
He's not just tilted, he has, in effect, denied Israel a right of self-defense, practically speaking, for all intents and purposes, because Israel's the bad guy, and bad guys don't have a right to fight back. So when you have the world stage, and Samantha Power could have said, stop the murder, stop the incitement, and says instead, well, on the one hand, so many Israelis have died, and on the other hand, so many Palestinians have died, it's a green light to terrorism.
Strong stuff. And